All right, let's head to the ACC. Let's talk about a team that, if they feel like this year's Georgia Tech, or not, though they are Georgia Tech, they're Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They feel like this year's Texas Tech from a couple years ago, where
Yeah.
they're starting to build some steam. Everyone's kind of hopping on the Yellow Jackets train. Right now, they got the fifth best odds to win the ACC at 15-1. I mean, there's a reason we didn't. I mean, they're the fifth best odds. Like, team who has the fifth best odds in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're not a sleeper. Like, you're gonna be right there on the cusp. ACC and the Big 12 can be tough for you to get 3, 4, 5 teams in. So fifth best odds in the ACC, win total of 7.5. Tell me about the coaches on this Georgia Tech team.
I think Brent Key you can make an argument Brent Key is the most underrated head coach in all of college football. I think if you gave Brent Key the Miami job, he would be doing a hell of a job and doing better than what Mario Cristobal has done. You give Brent Key the head coaching job at some of these SEC, like the higher tiered SEC programs, I think they'd be winning a lot of football games, and he would be doing just as well as some of those teams and some of those coaches have done.
Let's tick some people off. How about Brent Key at Auburn?
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Yeah, I think if you give Brent Key the NIL situation that they have there, and like, would he have top 7 or 8 recruiting classes? I don't know. But you're talking about a guy, though, Brent Key, who was an offensive line coach and an elite recruiter under Nick Saban for a long time. And he's been good enough to recruit really good football players to Georgia Tech to the point to where they're taking Georgia to the brink in Athens on Thanksgiving weekend. They're beating Cam Ward, and Miami beat Miami back-to-back years. Hey, real quick, look at the bottom of this screen and hit that subscribe button for us, please. And also follow us on Apple and Spotify. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps us out a ton. We greatly appreciate it. They're good enough to beat teams like that. They're good enough.
They're doing this all as double-digit underdogs in most of these games.
Correct. They're good enough to have players like an Eric Singleton that everybody gets in the transfer portal and everybody wants. It ends up going to Auburn, speaking of Auburn. But we'll just start there. They lost one of their best offensive players, period, Eric Singleton, but they replaced him with Eric Rivers from FIU. And the dude had over 1,100 yards receiving and 12 touchdowns last year for FIU and was wanted by a lot of people. And I think he's going to be really good for the Jackets this year. But, dude, you got to start with, Brent Key is a head coach, and then Buster Faulkner is OC. Faulkner just seems like that kind of like, I don't know, like wizard mastermind like type deal. When you're watching games, dude, he just comes up with like unique ways to move the football and to score points. And dude, he's the true definition, man, of just a great game manager as an offensive coordinator. Like an example I'll give you of that. So they play against Georgia, and they put up a ton of points and had a ton of yards against Georgia and Athens, okay? On the flip side of that, when they played Miami, dude, just a masterful job of playing musical chairs at the quarterback position with running quarterback, passing quarterback, and just playing keep away from Cam Ward in Miami, limiting Cam Ward and keeping Cam Ward in Miami on the sidelines.
Yeah,
is what Buster Faulkner, Brent Key, and that offense did. Run, as Brent Key said after that Florida State game, run the damn ball. And they're really good at that.
Yep.
And Haynes King is a perfect field general at quarterback to run that offense. He's not the most talented quarterback in the country. He's not the best quarterback in the country, but the dude's a hell of a leader and makes plays and just, again, finds ways to win football games and to put points on the board and to do what's best for his offense. So the fact that you've got him coming back and Haynes coming back at tailback with that run game, and Brent Key being the offensive line guy that he is, I expect that offensive line to always be good there at Georgia Tech as long as he's there. This offense is going to be tough to stop and going to be a pain in the ass to stop because they're the type of team that is going to hit you in the mouth for 4 quarters and see how much you like playing football from an offensive standpoint. Now, on the defensive side of the ball is where they got to show some improvement. They got to get better on the defensive side. But, dude, I love their schedule and how it sets up this year. Honestly, their ACC opener is good old Clemson on September the 13th. Do I think as we sit here right now that they're going to beat Clemson? No, we've got Clemson ranked as the number 3 team in the country in our ATB top 12. You can go check out our top 12 rankings on our YouTube page right now if you want. But let me ask you this. Do you think there's just no chance that Georgia Tech just can't beat Clemson at home?
No, because there's a very realistic chance that like Clemson, maybe they're just not as good as ever. I mean, there's always a couple teams out there that just aren't as good as what everyone's making them out to be. And I would believe those teams would come from conferences like the ACC and the Big 12 over the Big 10 and the SEC. So to get them at home, third week of the season, maybe Clemson hasn't quite gelled yet. They've obviously would be coming off of, 2 weeks before playing LSU at home, coming off, you never know what happens in those games. Are they flying high from that game after a win, or are they coming off of a loss? Like, are they reeling? I don't know. So
let me ask you the next question. Let me ask you the next one for their next biggest game, far as teams who they're playing. After what we watched last year, do you think it's just a foregone conclusion? There's just no way that they can beat Kirby Smart in Georgia in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. How much do you hate that, by the way, that they're not playing that in Bobby Dodd?
It's ridiculous they're not playing that in Bobby Dodd, but it's I mean, they might have less fans in that home game, but they had less fans in last year's game. They took them to 8 overtimes, right? So
yeah, exactly.
They could do that. They've got, again, these are opportunities for them to show their strengths, to show that they belong. They don't play Miami, Louisville, or SMU, teams 2 through 4 in the odds to win the ACC, and they get Pitt, Syracuse, and Virginia Tech at home. So they got a couple tricky spots at Duke, at NC State. I mean, in some of these wide open conference races like the ACC and the Big 12, those are always going to be tricky spots. And you got to trust in Brent Key as a head coach.
Yep. And again, 10-2 is the magic number. Does that mean it's a guarantee that an ACC team gets in at 10-2? Absolutely not. That's not what we're saying. But to even be considered in the group of at-large teams to make the college football playoff, you've got to get to 10-2, especially in the ACC. And looking at their schedule, again, let's just say that they do lose to Georgia and Clemson. They absolutely can run the table in the rest of their games, and they they would have a shot to do that. So I get why there is, like, I believe in the coaches. I like what they're bringing back in the most important positions for this team, and I do think their schedule definitely sets up better than what it was last year.